Hello, this is Steven Orlando, the creator of the game you are watching, Treasure Adventure Game. This is part 6 of my video Post-Mortem for Treasure Adventure Game, where I am just running through the game, playing it, and talking about the process of creating it, answering people's questions, and just that kind of thing that comes into mind as I go along. It's been a little while since I've done one of these. I'm actually working on a new project that I can't really talk about quite yet, but I am really excited about it and looking forward to being able to tell everybody about it, but just holding off for now. It's anyone who has enjoyed Tag will certainly be interested in what I'm working on, but because of that I haven't had much time to do things like these video post-mortems and stuff, but I do enjoy doing them, so I'm going to try to find some time to continue this, since there's still people asking questions, and I've thought of some other things I could talk about as well. So, so today I'm going to answer a couple questions, and then I actually want to talk about some of the things in the game that actually that I cut out of the game, because there's quite a few things that I wanted to do that just simply didn't have time for, or sometimes it's things I want to do and I just kind of forgot about actually. So I'll talk about that. But first I'm going to answer a couple questions. I had a couple really good questions posted on the last video. And by the way, if you want me to answer a question, just post it on the comments to this video and I will try to get to it next time. So I can't tell you when that'll be, but I will attempt to do that. So so I had a question that was a couple, actually kind of a 3 or 4 part question, but basically it was, what is my workspace like? What kind of things inspire me, and what time of the day do I work? Things like that. So it's a good question. My workspace is pretty simple. I have a relatively small desk. I just recently got a dual monitor set up. Most of Tag was created just using a single monitor. I just really didn't have a lot of need to get to, and actually I didn't have a video card that supported it, but I finally upgraded my video card and good stuff like that. So now I'm screwing up here. So now, basically now I've just got like a small desk with a pull-out. I mean, there's really nothing to it. I finally got a really nice one of those was a Herman Aeron chairs. I actually got one for my birthday because my back was starting to hurt a little bit from sitting all the time. So I do have a nice chair, but everything else is pretty modest. I just have like a not a sort of top-end PC. It's just like an HP Pavilion thing that I bought. Previously I built my own rigs, but the last one I had sort of crapped out, and I just didn't feel like taking the time to put a new one together. So I just went out and bought this, and actually really happy with it. After I upgraded the video card, I really couldn't have any complaints with it. So since I do actually work a day job, almost all the time spent working on Tag is in the evenings. So I would say probably I would get home, take a little time off, and then I would an hour or two, and then get back to work, have dinner, usually work some more, and that was pretty consistent. Almost every day was like that, pretty consistently. And even now, as I'm working on other projects, I'm kind of have the same schedule. So I will take about an hour to relax my mind, and then attempt to get back into work. Some days it's tough to get started, and so the other question was, what inspires me to get creative? And it's honestly kind of hard to say. I think there are definitely days when I just do not feel it at all, and it's hard for me to even get started. But usually once I get going, once I just kind of start cruising with it, things just start to happen. Sometimes I have to get myself in a different mindset if I feel like it's things just aren't coming to me. So sometimes it's a matter of just getting away from the computer altogether. Go out for a walk, or sometimes just take a shower, or go get a coffee somewhere. So stuff like that will really help me sort of, tackle something that I've been working on in my head in a different way. But that's pretty much all I have to say about that. I guess there's probably more things that I do, but I just can't really think of anything offhand. Let's see. Okay, so someone asked me a question. What kind of artist do you consider yourself? A writer, game designer, graphic artist, coder? And I would say, I don't really. I still don't even know if I consider myself an artist per se. I mean, if I had to pick one of those, I would say it would be game designer. I'm not really a coder. I mean, I can code just enough to be able to get a game like Tag done, and I'm just basically, I feel like I'm just proficient enough to be able to create, you know, a platform type game and other types of games. But I mean, nothing like that would be considered, you know, revolutionary or anything that would be considered highly technical. You know, I certainly don't have the ability to do much as far as like, you know, 3D games would be concerned. I mean, I worked with Unity a little bit and picked up some of the basics of that, but certainly is above my comfort level at this point. So yeah, I guess out of all those, I would consider myself like a game designer, and also I like to think as like myself as like a world designer, and that's actually kind of the second part of his question. His or her question was, what kind of experience did I want to create? Did I want to create a story, or oh man, I'm just gonna skip this part actually, and I'll come back later. You know, he said you want to create a story, a cool experience, a world, or a fun game, and I think the answer that I finally have realized is I wanted to create a world. You know, I've been working on other games sort of in my spare time for fun, like Novara X and some other small little like prototypes, and I lose interest in them pretty quickly because it's not, I don't feel like there's something about just like, you know, sitting down and like laying out a level or laying out, which, you know, will become part of the larger world. It really interests me. I think that, I feel like as I continue, you know, my career in game design, I'm going to continue to make these types of games, exploration platformer type games, because that's what really interests me. I love the idea of creating a virtual world and just everything that kind of goes into that. You know, like what happens in this world, who are the characters that live in this world, what kind of things can happen, and that's what gets me going when it comes to this stuff. And I think that's what I'm going to continue to focus on, and that's what I'm going to, you know, try to specialize in, I think, at this point. So if you like games like Tag, hopefully, you know, when I do finally get another project done, it'll you know, it'll be not too dissimilar from a game like this. So those are actually the two. Those are the questions I wanted to answer today. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, like I said, was some of the things that got cut from the game. So I mean, as you know, the world's filled with lots of stuff. There's, you know, I have many items and puzzles and things in the game, but there actually was a surprising amount of things that, just due to time and because I was starting to get burnt out, I kind of decided I had to start cutting things. And so I'm going to go over some of those with you. So one thing I wanted to do, I really wanted to have another character, or like an NPC in the game that would be like a dolphin or a whale that would, I kind of had the idea that you would find it in distress somewhere and have to help it out, and then later in the game it would actually come to your rescue. I was kind of thinking of doing a part where you would be diving underwater and you would run across like you have to basically be like a bunch of sharks that would be keeping you from getting to an item you needed, and so at that point, if you would rescue the dolphin, then it would come and basically help you out of that part. So I ended up kind of doing something with shark repellent, because that was another idea I had, and it was actually just easier to implement. So instead of having a dolphin help you, I have it so you can pick up some shark repellent, and that kind of takes care of that part of the game. So that would have been fun to have. I think, like, you know, more like underwater characters would have been kind of cool to do, but that just didn't happen, unfortunately. Other thing I wanted to do was put in, I wanted to have like, you know, another island, and I think the one I wanted to do was actually going to be like a floating island that you'd only be able to get to, and I don't know, this is, you know, obviously if you're watching this, you don't care about spoilers, but so in the warp world where you can basically warp from island to island, I was going to make it so there was one island you could get to only in that world, and it was going to be a floating island, and in that floating island was basically going to be essentially sort of like I guess like a coliseum, or I don't really know what the right word would be, but basically I guess I'll say like a coliseum where you'd have to fight through a bunch of, like, you know, levels, and essentially fight all the different enemies in the game, like room by room, and just fight your way through and get to, like, you know, a boss at the end, and then at the end of that you would get like some kind of special item that which is actually another item, which is another thing that I ended up not putting in the game. I wanted to have I wanted to have a special, like an upgrade to your throwing hook and your regular hook. It was going to be kind of like, I think I was going to call it the golden hook. And it would basically just be more powerful and have longer range and sort of be a secret item that you would have, I think I was going to have, so you'd find it in this Coliseum. So I ended up cutting all that just because, just because of time. And so I think that would have been fun to include. Let's see. I wanted to do have an achievement system. I know not everyone cares much for those, but I thought it would be fun to put in a system where, by doing certain things like, that weren't actually required, to complete the game or even, get anything specific, just would give you an achievement. Because I feel like there's so many different like little things like I could have thrown in, and actually one place where I started to do it. I was kind of thinking about putting the achievement system in, and I never did. But there's a place in the game where there's a bunch of those little piranha fish hanging out, and if you kill them all, some sharks will appear. And if you kill the sharks, you were going to get an achievement. And so the sharks still show up, and you can kill the sharks, but it really doesn't do anything for you. So I kind of left it in there just as a little Easter egg. But that was going to be like an example of an achievement. It doesn't really get you anything in the game, but if you do it, you'd get that little bonus. So, so that's something that I ended up cutting out, the achievements. So they were almost in, but I think the biggest thing was I was getting burnt out, and I said, you know what, achievements can wait. It doesn't have to happen. So, okay, yeah. So a few other things. In the city, there's, you probably have seen, there's the Holocade where you can play like a little mini game, and I actually wanted there to, and actually in the Allocade there's actually 3 different buttons you can press that are open up different games, and I actually just disabled 2 of them because I never got around to creating other games. But there was going to be 2 games or 3 games total in there. Besides the one that I included, I was going to hang on a second. I forgot. I gotta. Well, actually, I don't need that. I don't even know how to get through. What am I saying? Yeah, so the Holocade. So there was going to be 3 games. The other 2 games were going to be, I was actually going to do a fishing game, because one thing that I actually wanted to do originally was make it so that you could fish in the game. Basically anywhere where there was water, you'd be able to throw in a pole. And so that got cut actually very early on, because I just realized that would be too much work. But I thought if I could make like a little mini game where you could go around and try to catch fish, that would be fun. That got cut. So basically the fishing got cut twice. I thought about doing it in 2 different ways, and I just never did it. And then the other thing, which I think would have been interesting, but I didn't do, was that the 3rd game was going to be actually like a recreation of the epic battle between the hero that's talked about in legend and the evil demon. So I was going to be like, you were basically going to get to play as that character in that epic battle. And I think I was going to make it so your player had like a sword and maybe had some of the different items that you collect through the game and actually could use them. But again, that would have been really involved, and just, it would have been really, really cool, but it would have taken so much time and an effort for such a small little sequence that I just decided that had to get cut. But I think that would have been really cool to do. Let's see. Oh yeah, besides I mentioned that I wanted to do the golden hook, but another thing I want to do is make it so that there was like a power-up that would appear. I don't know if it would appear randomly or maybe certain enemies would drop it, and it would basically be sort of like an invincibility, but instead of what it would do is essentially it would make it so that your hook attack, this attack, would be a constant, like it would basically like automatically run constantly, and it would be really fast, so that you'd essentially be like a walking death hurricane everywhere you went. So I thought that would be like a cool, like almost like sort of like an invincibility type power up, but just never, once again, never got around to that. I wanted to include some other different types of puzzles in the game. For example, like using the bottle, which I don't have yet. Actually, that's what I'm going to go get right now. Actually, while I'm here, before I do that, because here's something else I cut. Originally, this with the lighthouse, when you turn this on, it points you to a location in the water. But originally, I wanted it so that when you turn on the lighthouse, and once you did that at night, right here, a big ghost ship would appear. and then you would be able to explore the ghost ship, and it would be sort of tied in with this whole island story. Yeah, that didn't happen. And so instead, I made the lighthouse point to a place where in the ocean where you can dive down for a treasure that you would otherwise not be able to locate easily. So I thought that worked out nice, but I think the ghost ship would have been a lot of fun too. So let's see here. So that got cut. And so I was talking about, so I wanted to do some other puzzles with the bottle, and one of them that I had in mind I thought would be really cool would be if since it's in this area here, since it's very, very cold, I thought that I'd make it so maybe there were like currents of cold air coming out of the ground or something, and if you had water in your bottle and you sprayed the water near the currents, those water would turn into blocks of ice, and then you would be able to use those blocks of ice to solve some puzzles. And so I actually kind of had an intricate puzzle all worked out where you would be freezing blocks, floating them on the water to like get to a different area, or something like that, and then that just never really happened. And there were more. I thought the bottle was such a fun, unique item that I wanted to have a lot of different ways you could use it. And although I do think there's a good number of them, I definitely had more in mind. I thought would be a lot of fun, but so some of those definitely got cut. And the other thing, I only have one more thing on the list, and that is actually kind of a story element. This is something I kind of actually just forgot to do because when I was writing as I was writing the story, I tried to keep in mind all the different elements that I wanted, but sometimes I just forgot. So one was that in the end of the game, you kind of find out that have been manipulated by the evil character for most of the game, and I wanted one of those elements to be that all those the robots that sell you the lockpicks, the vendor bots in the game, were actually essentially like spies that were sort of tracking you, and that also would explain like why they were giving you lockpicks or selling you lockpicks to begin with. Like they were sort of there to help you along, but at the same time, they were kind of watching your progress and kind of knew where you were. And I was going to tie that into the story somehow, and then I just never ended up doing that. So so actually that got through my list of things that I cut from the game, and I feel like this is a good point to take a break. So I'm going to stop this right now. Like I said before, if you want me to answer some of your questions, just post them as a comment on this video. And I don't know exactly when I'll be doing another one of these, but I still haven't given up completely on it. I'm going to try to do them whenever I get a chance. So hopefully you enjoy this, and I will see you next time. Bye.